Alright, this Disfarers episode is all about Topolino's Terrace. Now this episode isn't a review in any way, by the way. You're not going to see anyone stuffing their face and explaining taste through food in their mouth while offering an uneducated account of a meal. I never studied the fine art of culinary, and food arguably depends on the perceiver because of the many differing palates across the globe, let alone across the United States. So no, instead this episode is a history and dive into what led to Topolino Terrace's creation, what it's all about, as well as a smorgasbord of other fun Disney info stuff. So there isn't going to be some stuffy food critique where someone says,
"If I don't love it, I don't swallow."
Okay, so Topolino's Terrace, Flavors of the Riviera, is an Italian/French restaurant atop Disney World's European-themed Riviera Resort. The actual name Topolino is in fact a direct reference to Mickey Mouse. It's what Mickey Mouse is called in Italy, but this isn't any kind of direct translation. Apparently, like 4 years after Steamboat Willie debuted, this hack over here, Mario Nervini, started making a weekly newspaper for children that looked precisely like Mickey Mouse, essentially a plagiarizing Italian run of Mickey Mouse comics. Since Signore Nervini didn't have the rights to use Mickey Mouse, he called his doppelganger here Topolino, which translates as baby mouse, or little mouse according to some sources. So a Disney representative in Italy saw this Topolino comic and naturally enough forced Mario to purchase the rights if he wanted to keep utilizing Mickey's likeness. But since the name Topolino had become so popular in Italy, Mickey's name just remained Topolino in Italy. And as for the terrace part of Topolino's Terrace, it's named such because, well, it has an extremely nice rooftop terrace. Though there is typically no Mickey on the terrace, oddly. Now, Disney's Riviera Resort, which opened its doors in 2019, is inspired by Walt Disney's historic trips through Europe, centering on the French and Italian Riviera along with its cliffside restaurants. So given that Disney already has a top-of-the-line French restaurant in Epcot, Monsieur Paul, which by the way, my son and I got to roll through the kitchen and actually meet the head chef at the time, Chef Francisco Santon. He was awesome. Anyway, there's Monsieur Paul's as well as Le Chef de France downstairs. So Disney had two great French restaurants and only one higher-end Italian restaurant with Tutto Italia Ristorante. Unless someone wants to argue that Tony's Town Square or Mama Melrose's is high-end, but fun as they may be, they're not exactly dining experiences. So I suppose not to further insult the sovereign nation of Italy, Disney decided that the Riviera Resort's European restaurant's name was to be Italian.
Everybody mambo!
However, the menu and decor would keep in line with the rest of the resort and be inspired by the Mediterranean regions of Italy and France. So, you know, fresh cheeses, pasta, and wine. Now you might think, given the very implicative title of Topolino's Terrace, that dining out on the rooftop terrace was a viable option, but it's not. There's no seating for eating outside on the terrace. It's simply an amazing place to lounge, explore, and gawk at the scenic vista below. It even offers a phenomenal, if somewhat far off, view of Hollywood studios. And there is a bar outside, but I haven't personally seen it open for some time. However, the indoor bar is reliably available for those seeking libations. Whether you're outside or indoors, the sunset up there is one of those things a camera isn't going to properly capture for you. Kind of like the striking vastness of an ocean. It's something you just have to see for yourself. From essentially anywhere in the restaurant, the sunset is just stunning. And that's not a word I use in everyday conversation. And I've actually read and heard this too many times, so I'm going to try to help some people out. Don't listen to other websites and videos about when to get reservations for the astounding sunsets. Because, you know, the sun sets at different times of the year. If you get a 6 p.m. reservation to catch a sunset in the summer, you're going to be busying yourself for quite a while. And before I move on from the view, I want to add that you get to see several fireworks shows up here from practically anywhere you're sitting in the restaurant. Multiple fireworks shows at some places, actually. And during New Year's, the 4th, and some other celebration times, the place is startlingly surreal. Topolino's Terrace has an exclusive expo kitchen, which means it's actually someone's job to coordinate food orders and make sure they're prepared accurately and promptly. The kitchen also has an actual wood-burning grill.
Thanks for that. I'll log that away.
The dinner menu, as I said, is French and Italian, so you could try out buttery escargot along with your pasta and/or fish. Which, by the way, this is where I first tried escargot and found it surprisingly amazing. And I'm not even into seafood, but the soul I had still makes me wonder if Americans just don't know how to cook fish, because I could easily have fish the way it was prepared at Topolino's on an alternately daily basis. Again, this isn't a review. I'm totally sure there are people who would completely disagree with me. In its earlier years, Topolino's Terrace proudly and repeatedly reminded customers that they made their own pasta, by hand. You could even watch them make it if you happen to arrive at the right time, I believe. And they still make their own pasta, but maybe it's the servers I get these days or something, because no one's mentioned it to me in quite some time. However, this may make some sense. I mean, I make my own pasta at home too, and when I first started, I proudly told everyone also. And then as time passed, I just stopped mentioning it. Now when company tells me how great my pasta is, I'm like, yeah. Even still, I admit, Topolino's pasta is better than my own. At least for now. I'm still working on tweaking mine now and again. And while I was looking at Topolino's fun ceiling display here, I questioned aloud how cool it was, but that I didn't quite understand it. That was until an adroit younger someone pointed out to me that it was pasta. And it's so obvious after it was spelled out for me that I figured I should put it in this episode in case there were others who were also confused by it. And Topolino's Terrace's most notable dessert item is still their warm chocolate cake, which is really a lava cake. I don't know why they shirk from the word lava. Maybe it's a Pompei Italian thing, but it's a caramel lava cake. They used to call it warm Valrhona chocolate cake, but they ditched the word Valrhona. Likely because people had a tough time pronouncing it, like myself before this episode until I practiced it for 3 minutes solid. Okay, so Valrhona is this premium high-grade French chocolate manufacturer. And I know it sounds crazy, but even halfway decent Valrhona chocolate is like $125 a bag nowadays. It was founded by a French pastry chef, Albéric Guiouanet, over 100 years ago, who was very serious about his chocolate.
Augustus, please, don't do that. My chocolate must never be touched by human hands. Please, don't do that. Don't do that. You're contaminating my entire river. Please, I beg you. My chocolate!
Oh, and Topolino's Terrace also has a dress code. Disney's site states that guests are expected to dress accordingly in attire that respects the restaurant's sophisticated and upscale aesthetic. Clothing should be clean, neat, and in good condition. Meaning, you can wear whatever you want, but they prefer you not be a complete disheveled mess after navigating the parks all day. But all of this so far was just about dinner. Topolino's Terrace also offers Topolino's breakfast a la arte with Mickey and friends. And yet again, I'm not going to get into food, but this is absolutely the best quality character dining breakfast in all of Walt Disney World. It's not a buffet, but rather what's called a prefix menu, which I think just translates into total fixed price, but it also means the meal contains several courses. And if you're into coffee, which I am, and I'm certain there are others who are, Disney has all kinds of remarkable and different press pot blends across Walt Disney World. And one of them is here at Topolino's Terrace. However, it's not so inventively named the Press Pot Riviera Resort Blend. But after an inquiry, I was told that it's an actual blend from France and not specialty Joffrey stuff. And it's seriously amazing. All the press pots are, really. Now, the Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Daisy at the breakfast are not the exact same characters you're going to meet anywhere else at Disney World or Disneyland out in California. Other than being dressed differently, their personalities definitely have a different sort of European slant. I don't know how else to explain it because obviously they don't use any dialogue, but they are definitively different and yet are still the same characters. Kind of like how Mickey is a bit different in the now old but newest in terms of Mickey Mouse cartoons. It's just something that makes everything all the more unique and fun, and the backstory is kind of neat and interesting. The characters have gone to Europe to study art, so Mickey is all about painting, which kids and adults can sort of do with a starter that's brought to every table. Donald is into sculpture, Minnie is all about poetry, and Daisy is taken to dance. Even by character breakfast standards, it's more lighthearted here. The food is lighter too, and like I said, of a much higher quality. Whether it be breakfast or dinner, Topolino's Terrace is well worth anyone's time, and with being attached to the gondola Skyliner system, it's a fairly accessible place for anyone to reach, as long as there's not a thunderstorm. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like and subscribe. And this is the first time Disfarers is covering a restaurant, so any comments, good, bad, or ugly, are appreciated. I really like hearing different points of views and opinions. Also, if you didn't like this episode, well, thank you so much for watching it the whole way through. And if you didn't already know, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was like the greatest spaghetti western ever made, which were these western films shot and made in Italy. See how I tied that into Topolino's Terrace there? Okay. Ciao, and Disfarers out.